Yo, what up, it's Carter. This evening I wanted to film a very special video for you, okay? Especially if you are a guy watching this who's trying to improve his ability to talk to women, okay? In a way where you're relaxed, you're confident, you're being natural, all right? And especially if you're trying to get good with women fast, okay? Rather than having to do thousands of cold approaches, rather than having to become a club promoter, okay? Rather than having to jump through all these hoops and do all this shit just to be able to talk to a girl, okay? I know a lot of guys, especially clients that I work with, these are guys who, they just want to be able to talk to girls who they see in their daily routine. They just want to be able to see a cute girl and go and say hi to her, okay? Or maybe they just want to see a cute girl who their friends are friends with, they want to be able to socialize with or get to know her. They essentially want to be a fucking natural, okay? Without having to basically pick up some part-time job to get good with women. Well, what this video is going to be about is the fastest way that I've ever found to get good at dating, to get good with women, okay? And it's stuff that I teach to my clients, okay? This is going to be a free video explaining the process. However, I do deeper work with my clients. And I've got guys in the program, right, who I work with, who are guys who are virgins, guys who have never done a cold approach in their life, guys who are terrible at talking to women, shy, antisocial, and these guys are breaking out of their fucking shell within weeks, okay, within a month. And that's because I'm using processes that were not around when I was younger and that I still don't see being taught. Okay, processes that took me a while to assimilate, and the processes that can induce rapid transformation in your ability to attract and connect with women and to be social and comfortable and relaxed in your own skin, which is really the most important thing, okay, especially if you're somebody who was shy like me when I was younger, okay? And really, these are concepts that I got from some amazing literature back from the 1910s, 1920s, 30s, all right? Things like The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murphy, all right? And another book, Self-Mastery Through Conscious Autosuggestion by Emile Coué. This is actually a picture of Sigmund Freud, so it's not Emile right here, you know, shitty printing, Amazon printing of the book. But basically, these are some magnificent ideas that basically allowed people to do things like heal from different ailments, that allowed people to do things like heal different psychological conditions by the tens of thousands, okay? Especially by Emile Coué, who was a pharmacologist, okay? French pharmacologist. I believe he moved to the United States, and at his clinic, he healed over 20 or 30,000 people with the use of autosuggestion, okay? Now, obviously, we're not talking about it in terms of healing a physical ailment. We're talking about it in the terms of becoming more socially confident and comfortable, okay, leaving your shy identity behind. But these are powerful ideas, guys, okay, especially The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murphy, okay? These are books that people have used basically for about 100 years at this point to heal all sorts of issues, right? Social anxiety, confidence issues, physical ailments and diseases, all right? And also you're going to see books like these crop up in the more manifestation, law of attraction communities, which I used to be very turned off by when I was younger. However, the point being is that these are magnificent books and ideas that have been lost to time, and ideologies where, you know, in the beginning of the 1900s, essentially, we had different paths that we can branch down as human beings, right? And instead of really understanding how consciousness operates, how to create and induce deep change rapidly, you know, through these modalities, which are free, which only require your own ability to use them, nothing outside of you, you don't need to pay for them. Well, instead of focusing on those and being like, hey, what's going on there? What we did as a race is we went down all these other rabbit holes and we started losing ideas like these. But these are some of the most potent ideas that you can fucking learn as a man, or anybody watching this, but it's going to be men watching this one. And what I want to do today is teach you how to use them, okay, to where you could literally be getting good, let's just say, success or results with women by the end of this fucking week. Okay, and I know that sounds too good to be true, but I'm not full of shit, okay? I teach this shit to my clients, I teach it to people, or I've taught it to myself, okay? And it's something that can absolutely change your life, your quality of life, if you are willing to apply these ideas rigorously and as I tell you to do them. Exactly as I tell you to do them, okay? So as long as you listen, you apply my ideas, you could start seeing success with women socially and in your own personal life, just in any social interaction by the end of this week. All right, so first things first, how did I find this shit, and why is it so fucking powerful? Well, when I was younger, I used to read books, and I used to read a lot of advice on how to get better with women that would require you to follow a method, that would require you to learn a bunch of techniques, that would require you to be something that you're not, okay, which takes a lot of fucking effort. And at the end of the day, women can tell when you're being something that you're not, okay? People can tell, and what we call that is incongruence. It's a misalignment in your thoughts, words, and actions, okay? Trying to force yourself to behave and act and do things in a certain way, okay? And what I found was over the years is that as I constantly studying studied pickup artist advice, dating advice, social skills advice, is that I got better and better when I started applying things that had me do less in the interactions, right? I was doing less, but getting more results, okay? As in, I was relaxing, I was shooting the shit, I was having fun, more of my real personality was coming out, and I was getting better fucking results, okay? The girls that I was with, I was feeling a deeper connection with them, okay? I was getting, you know, quicker access to intimacy, right? I gotta be careful what I say here on YouTube. Quicker access to intimacy, basically, you know, where it was a win-win. It was just happening fast, okay? Like a fucking grease slide. And I started getting really good results. And what that came from was not adding on a bunch of shit to my personality, but it was from stripping back a lot of the things that I was doing. And what I learned was in dating and in socializing, it's a lot about what you don't do, not about what you do, okay? So really, as I, you know, when I held on to belief systems, which were, hey, I need to do a method for a girl to like me. When I held on to belief systems that were, hey, I need to do this or I need to do that, as I started to practice new ways of talking to women, right, where it was more based on principles and less on techniques, right, have a clear intention, have a freedom from the outcome, be entitled, and, you know, deserving basically, and be present to the moment, things like this, it was principles that I was memorizing. And as I did that instead of this, and I said, oh, wait, actually, I only need to do a couple things to be attractive. I don't need to memorize a bunch of shit. I don't need to follow a method or a routine. I started getting better results, okay? And then what I found is that even as I stripped away that stuff, and I said, wait, I don't even need to do any of that stuff to be attracted to women, I started being able to literally just attract women with, like, small talk. Okay, when I was feeling introverted, when I was feeling extroverted, low energy, high energy, didn't fucking matter. In any circumstance, in any environment, I was creating way stronger pull of attraction by doing way less, okay? And why is that? Why is that? Well, the reason that this phenomenon takes place is that women respond to you as you see yourself, okay? Your self-definitions, who you deem yourself to be, that determines your success or lack thereof in dating. And I really want you to ponder that, right? If you've ever met somebody who is a natural with women, what you probably found was, or what you ascertained was, is that this guy's never read anything on dating. This guy's never tried to get better at dating. This guy just assumes that he's God's gift to women, and women just throw themselves at him, right? I had a friend like that when I was younger. He was not a particularly good-looking guy. He was average height, okay? He wasn't super popular or anything, but he was incredible with women, right? Everywhere we would go, women would just throw themselves at him, and I never understood it, right? Because I was over here learning all this stuff, right? But I was still basically acting like I had a stick shoved up my ass in terms of my ability to express myself, relax, have fun, and attract the girls that I was talking to, right? And so that was deeply frustrating. Well, it's because your self-definitions determine your success, okay? Your internal identity determines your success, okay? Let me break down what that means into more detail for you. So basically, there is a sequence of self-expression that I did not understand that now I understand and teach my clients, okay? And that I talk about here on the channel a lot. And that is that a lot of guys, they try to work on their behaviors and actions, right? What they do in an interaction with girls, okay? There's the people who are looks, money, status. That's the having paradigm. That's the lowest consciousness and most effortful way of trying to create attraction in women, right? And at the end of the day, they end up dumping you because they can tell you're not really confident, okay? So the thing is that there's the having paradigm, right? But then there's the doing paradigm, where guys will try to focus on what they say and do, their behaviors, their actions, their body language, things in an interaction. And I used to focus on that shit like crazy when I was younger. And the thing is that if you've ever done that, you know, it takes a lot of effort, okay? And there's a lot of incongruency you create. People can tell you're not the real deal. Women can tell you're not the real deal. And so the thing is that there's a deeper layer, and that's emotions and thoughts. And emotions and thoughts, they actually cause your behaviors and actions within an interaction, okay? And so as I started to study dating at deeper levels, understand social dynamics and evolutionary psychology at deeper levels, I started to focus more on the emotional layer, right? Being in a certain mood, in a certain state, and then assuming that it was my state that attracted women, right? Oh, I have to be in a state to attract them, right? I have to get into a certain mood, and then I'll just be able to express myself. And the thing is that that's still the doing paradigm, because you assume to yourself, I'm not attractive, and I have to do something to create attraction. All right, and that's the problem, and that's a whole lot different than a guy who's a natural with women, a guy who doesn't really have to do anything, because he can be in any mood, he can be in any scenario, and women are still going to find that guy attractive, right? He's still eventually going to succeed, and he's just going to find himself dating cute girls throughout his life. He's not going to have to try or worry about it, like maybe yourself watching this, okay, or maybe how I was when I was younger, right? And so that's the deepest layer then, okay, which creates emotions and thoughts, behaviors and actions, okay? Or actually, there's your beliefs, okay? Which create that stuff. And then the deepest layer is your identity, just who you identify as, okay? So it's not something that you're constantly repeating to yourself. It's not something that you're constantly saying. It's just who you assume yourself to be. You act congruently to that identity, all right? And there are books like Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz that talk about this, okay? How we act congruently to our self-image. There's many reasons for this, okay? But the real point to take away from it is that you can get fast results by just changing the way you see yourself, okay? And if you are attached to the belief system that you have to do a fuck ton of work on yourself in order to get women, well, now you're identifying as a guy who has to do that, okay? But if you just identify as somebody who's just attractive here and now, all right, and you repeatedly do that through the basically the use of autosuggestion, okay, through conscious suggestion becoming autosuggestions, then what happens is your subconscious mind assimilates that, and very rapidly you begin to behave and act and think and feel differently when you're around women, okay? And they feel the difference, okay? People feel that you walk differently. I have clients in my program who I work with, and they tell me, man, my friends came up to me, or so-and-so, or a girl came up to me that I know, and they were like, man, you're just different. Like, I don't even recognize you, right? And that's because you can rapidly change when you go to the deeper levels, okay? When you stop treating symptoms and instead you get to the deeper levels, okay? So to work backwards takes a lot of effort, okay? It's going to take years to get good with women, right? It's going to take you years to accomplish that identity because you're looking for outside proof to prove to yourself that you're a new guy, right? That's what cold approach pickup artists will do, right? They'll go out nonstop, thousands of approaches. It's a part-time job to live in a nightclub, basically. They become a club promoter, and then after years of grinding and rejection and humiliation, they finally feel like they're good enough to an extent. All right, and the thing, and usually they're like, oh, it's because of this pickup stuff. No, bro, it's because you changed the way that you saw yourself. And so that's the thing. You don't need to basically try to source outside evidence to tell you who you are, okay? That's the outside-in approach. It takes a long time to do that. But instead what you can do, and that's what books like Psycho-Cybernetics or Self-Mastery through Conscious Autosuggestion or The Power of the Subconscious Mind are about. It's the idea that you can fix the belief in your mind right here and right now that you are a different person. You are the version of you already experiencing the reality that you want, okay? And there's a more left brain pragmatic way of explaining how this creates change, and then there's a more right brain manifestation law of attraction way that explains it. Now, the more left brain pragmatic way is that eventually, if you just rest in the belief that this is the way that I am, and you truly believe it, your subconscious accepts it, okay? So if despite external evidence, you just rest in the desired state of, I am a natural with women. I'm already good with women, right? I already love to approach new women. I already love to make conversation with women. Women already find me attractive. If you just rest in those states, what happens is now women start to treat you differently, okay? I have clients in my program who even women will, move things forward for them, okay? Which is crazy, right? And I'm not saying that you have to do that, right? There's that part of me where I still have my conditioning. I'm like, you're a man, you should lead things forward. However, I have guys in the program who women move things forward for them in terms of physical escalation and taking them to a different part of the venue, and it's like, what the fuck, right? It's just reality shattering. And so the left brain pragmatic way is that basically your subconscious accepts it and automatically guides you into different activities in life and guides you into different inspired actions in life and guides you into behaving and acting in a different way. All right, but the key is that you cannot consciously try to do it yourself, okay? You have to leave it up to the subconscious, as in rest in the desired state, maybe before going to bed every night or anytime you start to get negative, rest in the desired state, okay? Feel what it feels like to already be that guy, not with effort or force, but naturally as if that's just the way it is. And basically when you're interacting with a girl, you got to totally let go. Or throughout the day, you got to totally let go. You can't be trying to make it happen. You have to let your subconscious make it happen and assimilate the new identity. Now, the consciousness way of explaining it is that basically there's this idea that we live in a non-dual universe, okay? So it's not a universe where we're separate from all these different things. It's where there's infinite possibilities happening here at once, but this is just the reality that you inhabit, okay? And the idea is that you don't have to create a new version of yourself, but rather you can just identify with a version of yourself that already exists in the 4D plane, and then you can just basically step into that identity and start experiencing that reality just by tuning into it, okay, and by believing it. And so there's many different ways that people will try to explain this stuff, but at the end of the day, it fucking works, okay, because people use it and people crush it with it. I use it, my clients use it, and it's incredible, okay? And so the quickness to which you're going to succeed is based on your current identification and surrendering your personal effort or willpower, okay? So yeah, in the consciousness explanation, basically, you got to get out of your way and let God or infinity or consciousness assimilate that new reality, okay? And you can't be sitting there trying to create it yourself with your own willpower, okay? Emile Coué even talks about this in his very left brain book where he basically says, you know, never involve the will. The imagination always wins. So just keep planting the idea in your mind that this is the way that I am. Keep setting that intention and identify as I've always been this way, right? Another thing, if you identify as somebody who has a ton of baggage and that you need to overcome all of this shit, if you identify as that rather than just as identifying as, oh, I've always been good with women, right? It's always been this way. Again, it's brainwashing, right? It's basically brainwashing, but again, the idea is you're selecting a reality, okay? You're selecting a different version of you that's already out there in the 4D plane, okay? And then you're allowing consciousness to assimilate that reality into your experience, okay? By non-attachment, by getting out of your own way. Okay, again, that's the out there version. The left brain pragmatic version is that the subconscious mind is doing the work for you. But either way, you can't get in your own way. You can't try to make it happen. Your only job is really 5%, okay? The 95% is left up to consciousness or the subconscious, whatever you want to call it. The 5% is left up to you, and that is to just choose who to identify as, okay? And when you can choose to identify as that, there's many ways to do that, right? You can literally just state it to yourself, okay? You can fall asleep to different scenes of you doing things with women, just enjoying it here and now as if that's just who you are. You can also restructure your day in a way where basically, let's say that you had a bad interaction with a girl throughout the day or just a bad social interaction or experience, you can fall asleep and you can revise the memories as you fall asleep to basically be something different. I just had to do a little adjustment because it's getting super fucking dark out. The camera can't take in the light anymore. But yeah, basically you can revise memories to go how you wanted them to go or whatever. But basically just continually affirm to yourself that you are who you want to be, okay? And it seems too simple, okay? And see, that's the problem, is you think that it's too simple. You think that you have to do something to be good with women, okay? But I'm just telling you from personal experience, you just identify as already being good with them. You identify as the social, charismatic, confident version of yourself, and then observe old tendencies and old habits that you don't like neutrally. Don't attach a story to them. Oh, well, I did that because I'm this way. I didn't approach her because I'm scared, or I feel anxious because I'm an anxious person. No, you have feelings, you have actions. Just look at the facts of them throughout your day. Don't identify with them anymore, okay? If you do this and you just neutrally observe things that you don't like, okay, and if you just continually identify as who you want to be, eventually it will assimilate and become an autosuggestion, okay, to where you don't have to consciously do it anymore. You just say, that's who I am, okay? And you can start seeing results from this. I'm not even fucking kidding you, as soon as you are ready to accept that reality, okay? As soon as you're ready to accept it. So when you accept a reality, basically it's a feeling of naturalness, a feeling of effortlessness, and basically getting out of your own way. Okay, allowing it to assimilate, all right, not trying to do anything, and not identifying as the person who's trying to become, not identifying in a state of wanting where you're craving it, because that blocks having it, that blocks the subconscious from assimilating it, but rather just being like, nope, this is the way it is. You want to feel the inner relief of not having the desire anymore, because you already are that way, right? You're not desiring or craving to be that way anymore. No, I'm already good with women, right? And that's it, okay? That's it. End of fucking story. Sounds too good to be true. Books like these, they elaborate on it and they explain it in further depth, okay? But yeah, highly recommend getting these books, checking them out. They talk about belief, they talk about basically just the repetition and just accepting the reality. You can get there relative. Oh, fuck, I just bit my tongue, holy shit. You can get there relatively quickly, okay? So, yeah, pretty simple, pretty straightforward. If you want to basically change the way that you see yourself fast, just do what I told you in this video, okay? It's very fucking simple, all right? So with that being said, I am doing mentoring, okay? So if you like these ideas and you want to actually work with me one-on-one, you want to change your fucking life, you want to change your dating life, you want to unlock your real personality, okay? And stop having to rely on doing all these different things and jumping through all these hoops in order to just have a fun dating life, have solid, healthy relationships, well, you can work with me, okay? That's for guys who are serious. It's a paid investment, okay? And so if you hop on a call with me, just make sure you're serious and you're ready to fucking change, okay? I put everything into the mentoring for the guys that I work with, okay? So with all of that now, I want to thank you for being here as always, okay? These free videos, I put everything into them, so make sure you get the value, make sure you actually apply what I told you here today, okay? And I look forward to seeing you in the next video.